The Pirates and the Cardinals just played a weird game today. Now, I've watched every single Pirates game this season, and I can say with confidence that they have had the most devastating losses out of any team in baseball. The losses have just been absolutely brutal, and Monday's 4-2 loss to the Cardinals might have been the most brutal of the bunch. This was a bullpen game. Braxton Ashcraft has been absolutely electric this year, and it was his spot in the rotation that was due up. So far this year, he is pitching to a 2.43 ERA, and it's looking like the Pirates have like a real number 2 starter right behind Paul Skeens. And in a playoff series, I think that's a devastating 1-2 punch to run out there. He was due to pitch Monday night. Unfortunately, though, earlier this week, he was placed on the bereavement list for some sort of family emergency. It meant that the Pirates were stuck throwing a bullpen game in the first game of the 7-game homestand, where the Pirates will play at PNC Park for 7 games in 7 straight days. And it goes without saying that you don't want to have a bullpen game at the very start of a homestand to tire out the bullpen. So that's kind of the setup to the game. It was an unfortunate situation, and pitching for the Cardinals was Dustin May, who coming into the game had an ERA above 5. So you're kind of assuming that this is going to be a high-scoring game. It turned out to be anything but that. Pirates get a run in the first from an RBI single from Ryan O'Hearn, who is low-key having a great season. I feel like there's a lot of hype around the acquisition of Brandon Lau and around the bit of a breakout season that O'Neal Cruz seems to be having, but I think most Pirates fans would choose Ryan O'Hearn to be up in a clutch situation in the bottom of the 9th. He's the guy you want up, and he comes up with 2 outs and gives the Pirates a 1-0 lead. They would score again in the second, and so the game is starting off very good for the Pirates. Meanwhile, on the pitching side, couldn't be going better. The bullpen game was working out about as good as it could possibly go. Mason Montgomery would be the opener. His task would just be to get through the first inning, and he got through the first inning with just 7 pitches. Now, me watching the game, I'm thinking like, okay, maybe they want to leave Mason Montgomery in for the second, considering he only threw 7 pitches. You know, you don't want to have to use everybody tonight. So if you can get 2 innings out of a guy that, you know, normally you're only going to get 1, then you're just going to be in a better spot. Don Kelly opts to go to the right-hander, Justin Lawrence. Obviously, Jordan Walker's the 4-hitter for the Cardinals. You could imagine that the decision was made mainly because you don't want Mason Montgomery to face the righty Jordan Walker. And Justin Lawrence was perfect. He has a 1-2-3 in it. In the 3rd inning, the Pirates would go to the rookie Wilbur Dotel, who's only pitched in a couple games up until this point. He was going to be the one tasked with getting the bulk of the innings. He's pretty much the only guy in the bullpen that you feel is built up to go more than just 1 or 2 innings. And he was absolutely dominant. Like, he pitched from the 3rd all the way through the 6th inning without letting anybody get on base. He struck out 3 in his 4 perfect innings. And so through 6 innings, the Pirates are just in full control of this game, which, by the way, is the second of the last 3 games that the Pirates have had a perfect game going into the 7th inning. Like, this pitching staff is solid. Wilbur Dotel only threw 44 pitches. So I'm thinking, like, this guy might be able to go the rest of the way for us. I haven't looked into how much Dotel was built up this season in the minor leagues. I'm not sure how many pitches he usually throws on a given night, but from my understanding, he is a guy that can give you 5 or 6 innings and his arm isn't going to fall off. And so I was surprised when Don Kelly opts to take out Wilbur Dotel for the 7th inning, especially considering that we were 2/3 of the way through the game and, you know, we were still pitching a perfect game. Feels like if it's not broke, don't fix it. Leave him out there and have someone ready to go if he gets into trouble. To me, that's the most logical philosophy for navigating the situation, but Kelly chooses to go to the lefty Sisk. I think he really loved the idea of getting a lefty in there to face the 1-2-3 hitters of the Cardinals, both Weatherholt and Burleson, who are hitting 1 and 3, both lefties. Okay, fine. We go to Sisk, but that marks the 2nd time in the game where we take someone out just a little bit early. I just feel like if a guy's pitching well, you should leave him in there. They go to Sisk. Sisk gets the first 2 outs, and then Burleson, it's a little slow ground ball to 3rd base. It was a base hit. They had the shift on. What are you gonna do? Perfect game over. Just like the Skeen start, the Pirates go 7 2/3, perfect, but then give up a little ground ball for a hit. Jordan Walker was coming up. Don Kelly goes to Isaac Mattson. The move makes sense. You go to the righty to face the righty with a runner on base. Last thing you want is this game to be tied. Mattson comes in, strikes him out, end of the 7th. So now through 7 innings, you're still up 2-0, and you have, you know, your best 2 relievers going. You have Soto, you have Santana. You feel like you're in a pretty good spot. They were about as much of in control of a game as you could possibly be, considering they were only up 2 runs. Soto comes in, he gives up a hit, then Brandon Lau and Connor Griffin kind of connect for this nice double play. Soto gets through the inning, on to the 9th. You just need Santana to come in and shut the door. Meanwhile, this whole game, the Pirates bats had gone pretty much just ice cold outside of Nick Gonzalez. The Pirates 1 through 5 hitters combined for just 2 hits. You're just not going to win a lot of games with those guys just getting 2 hits, especially when Dustin May is pitching. Like, this is really somebody that we should be scoring more than 2 runs against. I do believe in the Pirates offense. I think it's good. I think the team does have a competitive offense for the first time in years. To this point in the season, they've scored the 9th most runs in baseball, which when you combine that with the pitching staff that we have, to me, I think is an offense that can win you some ball games. It hasn't been clicking recently. There's a handful of guys that have been in a bit of a funk recently. End of the day, you get to the top of the 9th, you have Dennis Santana on the mound. You feel relatively good. Pedro Pages, the Cardinals catcher, comes up, who I wouldn't describe as light hitting for the catcher position. Like, he's putting up better numbers than, either of the Pirates catchers, that's for sure. He has 21 home runs and 618 career at-bats, which is definitely nothing to scoff at. He hits the home run, whatever. If somebody hits a home run and you're up 2 in the 9th, to me, it's just about the same thing as walking the guy. Either way, you're in just about the same situation, whether you give up a double there or a home run. So sure, they can change the scoreboard, make it 2-1. Dennis Santana's always had this philosophy of, I'm going to put my stuff in the zone, and if you hit it, you hit it. But don't you know, the next guy up, JJ Weatherall, 3-2 fastball right down the pipe, smacked out of here, 2-2. At this point, you got to take him out. You have to take him out. If somebody's given up 2 home runs in a game where the Cardinals offense was completely dry against every single other Pirates pitcher, you've ran through the gauntlet of pitchers. Santana's the 7th guy to pitch in the game. Everyone else has dealt with this Cardinals offense like it was nothing. Clearly, if the guy's given up 2 home runs, clearly he doesn't have his stuff. You have to take him out. You have to get Bill Murphy to do his patented slow walk out there to stall as much as possible to get somebody in there. The problem is you're kind of reluctant to go to anyone because you've wasted so many relievers. Because you took your other guys out so quick, Montgomery, who had only thrown 7 pitches, Dotel, who pitched 4 perfect innings and looked lights out electric, and Matson, who came in, struck out the Cardinals' best hitter, but only faced 1 hitter. You think he could go 1 more inning. What I'm saying is if you still had Soto in the bullpen, then maybe you'd be a little quicker at getting him to warm up. But because you've used everybody else, at this point you're just kind of saying it's Santana or bust. You have nobody else. Kelly felt like he had to leave him in there, and things would get even worse. He then walks Ivan Herrera. At this point, you really have to take him out. Next guy, Burleson, hits a fluke single, just barely stuck on the line. Super unlucky, but you have to take him out at this point. The further this inning goes on, the more likely things are to go really bad, and things were already bad from basically the start. He walks Jordan Walker, then Jose Fermin doubles down the line, gives the Cardinals the lead. What's crazy is even at this point, they left Santana in to face Mason Wynn, which to me shows just how unwilling the manager was to waste any more relievers. They had just gone through too many already. He gets Mason Wynn to fly out. Finally, they put in Cam Sanders, who gets the final out, but at this point, the game was over. Marcell Ozuna should probably be DFA'd at this point, although it does seem like from the outside that he has been a good clubhouse guy. You can't be giving him 4 or 5 at-bats per game. He's just not the guy that he once was. He looks like he's playing in slow motion. We have to do something about this. Nick Gonzalez got his 3rd hit. He was most of our offense tonight, and Connor Griffin flies out to end the game. Dennis Santana has been good as a closer for the Pirates. I still obviously want him on the team. He's been good. I think you could consider maybe giving other guys some spots in the 9th inning. Soto's got a save or 2 this year. He's been fine in that role. Matson seems good enough to be a closer. I think the reliever I'm most high on right now is actually Mason Montgomery. He was just so automatic in that 1st inning, and he has the stuff to be one of the nastiest closers in baseball. He throws harder than any other lefty pitcher in baseball other than a guy named Aroldis Chapman. I think we might have found our closer of the future. All in all, I don't think Don Kelly made any one super egregious mistake in this game. Just a couple of small decisions over the course of the game that I think added up and eventually, to me, was one of the main reasons we lost. Santana will tell you that he's got to get it done. He's got to pitch better, sure. But sometimes your guy just doesn't have it, and you have to be ready in those spots to do something about it, to make the change when he's not pitching well. I think Don Kelly, from a national media perspective, is kind of seen as a good manager, and I think the players on the Pirates would tell you that he's been a key contributor in why the Pirates clubhouse seems to be so strong. Everybody seems to be friends, and it seems like good vibes in there. But from an actual in-game strategy perspective, I just feel like a lot of the losses this season can come back to Don Kelly just mismanaging the game. And I'm well aware that just because Don Kelly is the manager doesn't necessarily mean that he is the one calling the shots. In modern baseball, a lot of times it comes from the higher ups, the game plans for a specific game, but Don Kelly's the face of it. And so that's where I have to point the blame for mistakes like this. It's really a devastating loss in a season that the Pirates, despite having a good record and despite clearly being the best Pirates team in a decade, it just feels like their record should be so much better. It just feels like so many of these losses are winnable and their record should be so much better. Thank you guys for watching.